Hello again. Cyber attacks are on the rise. Interpol's African Cyber Threat Assessment Report for 2022 has revealed that a total of 230 million cyber threats were detected in South Africa. With October dedicated to raising awareness about the importance of cybersecurity, how can we protect ourselves and ensure safety in the digital world? Joining me now is Country Manager at Fortinet, Paul Williams, just to share with us some ideas and some insights. Paul, good afternoon. Welcome to Today on eNCA. Thank you very much for your time. It's an important time in terms of your industry of cybersecurity. It is an International Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Just to begin, to kick it off, the biggest threats in your view in cybersecurity nowadays, what are they?
So the biggest threats at the moment, what we're seeing is basically things what we call malware attacks, ransomware attacks, and other types of endpoint attacks. These attacks typically happen where people with ransomware obviously lock up people's computers, obviously then demand X amount of money from that person, and if they don't pay, they delete the data. We're looking at malware attacks. Basically, it's like an advanced virus type of attacks where it doesn't attack one PC, but many PCs in an industry or a company, and it actually wipes out data across the industry as well. And the third one is basically attacks on people themselves, either politically motivated, financially motivated, or basically just for pure gain.
Which of these three scenarios you've outlined are prevalent in our country today?
All three of them, I'm afraid.
So how do we stay safe online?
So how do we stay safe is, I think it's basically being digitally conscious around cybersecurity across all digital devices that we use in the industry today. So we almost have 3 to 4 digital devices as our own. With regards to how we do banking online, we obviously have to protect the digital devices like your phones, your tablets, and as well as your PCs, your personal PCs that you use. For companies, protect the network with firewalls, protect them with endpoint protection software, and also ensure that you actually run advanced software as well to ensure that when these attacks happen, we can detect them, mitigate them as fast as possible, and then understand the root cause of them and block them, and then obviously understand to report the incident as well.
Some of these you have to do regularly or frequently.
I would say with the systems we're doing today with Fortinet, we actually do a lot of automation. And with the automation, we also include things like artificial intelligence, which actually does a lot of work to detect and to obviously mitigate these responses. But over and above that, we also do basically a lot of artificial intelligence building as well as machine learning, which actually learns how these attacks happen. And then we write code and software to actually counteract these attacks as well.
What's the role of tech giants in keeping us safe in the cyber world?
So with Fortinet, we obviously were one of the first to develop the Cyberthreat Alliance. What does that mean as a user is we work with the big companies and protection officers like Interpol, the FBI, the American government, many other governments around the world. And what we do is we protect not only from a land-based point of view, but also from a global internet point of view. The second way we actually do it for the tech giants is we obviously develop with other vendors as well. So what we do as Fortinet is we got a huge ecosystem where we work with our competitors, but we also work with many other vendors where we actually share cybersecurity information between these vendors so they can also help mitigate these type of attacks as well.
Yeah, who facilitates cybercrime? I'm just asking it because you've just outlined the measures you take globally, you and your peers in the industry, cooperating with governments and all of that, but we still have cybercrime happening and it's growing according to the last report, which I've referred to in the intro. So who's facilitating this?
So who's facilitating this is, like I mentioned at the beginning, is people that want to gain this from a political point of view, and obviously trying to break into systems where they can actually see how weak the system is. They can steal the data and then use the data against that organization. The second part we're seeing is more around financial gain. So we're breaking into financial institutions or many other type of vertical markets, and they're using that information. Like I mentioned, there's ransomware and malware. And the third one is sometimes we have hackers or malicious attacks happening where people just want personal recognition. And sometimes they actually then take this information and they can sell it on the dark web.
Okay, so the impact on us, on individuals, for example, psychologically, if you've been hacked I mean, if you've been a victim. I mean, recently I spoke to somebody whose bank account was hacked. And I mean, they were really at their wits' end because the bank says, we need to do our investigation first because we don't trust this. But the person now has no access and they need the funds. I mean, besides the financial impact, psychologically, I mean, when you've been a victim of cybercrime, it's a tough place to be.
Yeah. So that is a very tough place. Obviously, it's very heart-wrenching. Number one, losing all your financial information and basically financial gain. From a banking point of view is obviously heart-wrenching as well. Number two is, you're right, it does take a while for the banks to obviously investigate this. And this is a big problem. And the third part that I think I'd like to mention on today's call is cyberbullying and around things like social media, not only for adults, but also for children. And a lot of these social media applications that children are using today is becoming a bigger and bigger problem as well.
Yeah. I mean, you've mentioned some of the situations and what people could be doing. I mean, it is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. From a South African perspective, I mean, you are a global player, but from a South African perspective, what would your key message be for us here in the country? I mean, we are exposed to all kinds of cyber crimes nowadays, as you've explained. But what would be the key message that you want to leave with our viewers in terms of our protection? Because we are all digitized. We are all carrying devices with us. We're all using all kinds of apps every single day on our phones.
That's correct. And what I would say is that when we actually use these digital devices, just be conscious of where you are, number one, in the environment, which network you're connecting to. Is that network secure? If it isn't secure, ensure that you have a secure connection that's establishing that link between that digital device and the internet. Number two, run what we call endpoint protection software on these devices to protect them from people attacking those devices. Over and above that, just be conscious not only of yourself, but where is that device being used? Is it your child using it on a gaming platform? Basically, is it an old person who doesn't understand the internet? Maybe education is very, very important for us as well. We try and educate the public on a daily basis. And last but not least, is just basically try and understanding that nothing is safe. Your passwords have to be stronger, your network connections have to be stronger, and over and above that, you have to ensure when you actually connect that you're ensuring that you're connecting to a secure environment, and this is all normally shown when you actually connect to a network as well.
Thank you very much, Paul. That's Paul Williams from Fortinet. He's country manager of this global cybersecurity company. This Cybersecurity Awareness Month, just trying to help you and many others to stay safe online.